What is the most, shall I ask about your happiest day in Scientology? Or shall I ask, what's your favorite, I don't know, the win maybe in Scientology or something like, what's the best that you associate with, when you think of Scientology, what's the brightest
Yes, it was Christmas of 1957-58, and Ron and Mary Sue got presents for the whole staff. At that time, the salary was about $9 a week for two people, me and my wife, and a baby. But there was no money coming into the little church at 1810 19th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. It's a very bad winter, and snow was like this. But Ron and Mary Sue got gifts, and he gave me a horseshoe shaped stick pin or tie clasp in my birthstone. And I was like, Jesus Christ, am I happy. It was just, we had a little party with people that I loved and respected, and a person I saw as a hero, and I was as happy as could be. One of many marvelous moments. I got lucky getting in early, because I think those moments managed to become fewer and fewer. Well, I want to give this my best for you and whoever is to see this. Maybe I've got some feeling I've done that. Maybe it's yet to come, but I may have already done it. I'm wanting to show strong feelings for what I thought of as a great purpose by great people was the biggest message I have. All the other stuff is, half gossip, fill in, blah, 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 bragging. But that was my moments of sincerity. When you can fake that, you can become a movie star. But I'm not faking it. So, let's see. What else do I really have to offer? It's not why I didn't go to see Anita and talk in person. You know the fellow in Reno?
Mm-hmm. Ray Robles?
They had a big thing. They were going to give me a plaque and pay me and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't there. Don't ask me why. I'm not there.
I'm not asking you why.
My ideas are, though. The ideas of Scientology, those are there. They don't look to me like they're in danger, or that the church is going to fuck them up permanently, or that the free zone won't get big enough and strong enough to ensure they're around. They're forever. I have this on highest authority. Even if I perished before the interview is over, and you too, there will be those to carry it. I'm certain of that. If I'm wrong, so what?
Okay.
So what else, though? I want to please you, which I may have not, when I gave you a slightly hard time about why didn't I go to the Free Zone Convention.
Well, I only ask it in the aspect because there are people who would love to be there, but for some reason they're just feeling afraid, or they're trying to, they are talking on the internet under the fake names, for example, or because they're afraid. And I'm trying to show that there is no need to be afraid. You can be who you want to be, who you feel you are.
You're right.
Without being afraid.
You're absolutely right, my dear. And if there are people like that, and I suppose there are some, I hope it's not a great many. I see that you're being afraid. Thank you. Do it well if you're going to do it. Admire it. Yeah. You're a failure? Great. Be a good failure. Whatever it is. We run the whole spectrum of life. Right? From and everything in between. Remember the theory of the Zulu? You know, there's a Zulu, the headhunter, and there's a cleared Zulu who's a very good headhunter.
Yeah.
If you're auditing a prostitute or a professional gambler or a hitman, if you're really an auditor, you're not looking and sitting in moral judgment of your PC. All right? You just see, here's maybe someone who is maybe an immortal, the human body, with a time track and da-da-da-da-da. And this is what they're being. But your concern is, can they find out something about themselves, for themselves, that will be big for them? And if it means they're going to be a better hitman or a better prostitute or a better whatever, it isn't like you're auditing them so they stop doing that because you think it's wrong. Ron was real big, if you read his writings in the early 50s, about moral code bullshit and how we aren't going to do that. Of course, later we are. That's all we're going to do, in fact, is work on right and wrong. But in the beginning, no moral code. First, sort of in big letters, the first most important thing of any form of therapist is no moral code about the person that comes to you seeking help. Now, if the guy says, I love being a prostitute, but I want to stop, then you can help him stop, but not because it's wrong. He may think it's wrong. He may end up thinking, no, a life of prostitution is good. I'll go to a better place to practice. So the society says here it's wrong, there it's right. What's the axiom about that? The thing about opinions and stuff. Do you remember the axiom?
No, I don't remember.
No, on good days I can remember it too. Right and wrong, goodness and evil, beauty and ugliness are like opinions, have no basis in fact. It's one of the axioms of Scientology. So, Phil Spickler that doesn't go to the important free zone meeting, is he right or wrong? Neither. He's a fucking old asshole who at this age doesn't bother with a lot of things unless he absolutely feels like doing them.
All right.
Anyway, I heard it was a good convention.
Yeah.
Was really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
You see, it was a lot of, like all those OTs or all those people, they're getting in touch. You know, it's like when you are alone and your attention is on the world and you are against the world all by yourself with as much theta as you have on your own. But when you come to the convention, you are joining the group and you are just including them and you reaching them, you know, and this is kind of creating this theta bank, you know, you're really becoming a group and you have this common theta, like a lake of theta, because you're all created, because you're all connected, you know. Maybe the feeling you had at this New Year Eve you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Being
similar.
Part of this group, being connected and with a common purpose that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So conventions are good.
Could be.
Okay. What is it that you would like to say before we end this?
Before we end this, I'd like to say, if you have a few minutes, tell you my life story. It can be said in 2 minutes. No, I've already said it. I just think Tatiana and company are doing a good job and deserve all the support you can give them through interviews and maybe offering tea or coffee afterwards. I hear good things coming from places like Anonymous and other lists on the internet and shows like Panorama and so forth that are helping possibly put the church in its place and maybe giving the free zone a plug. The idea of a free zone is reminiscent of what happened in Christianity when suddenly the Catholic Church, that was all-powerful and frightening and horrible, suddenly there was a group called Protestants who went against a lot of the injustices of the Catholic Church, but then ended up themselves becoming a repressive group. But that's religious history. If you want to go earlier than Scientology, you can see when you get into the more basic areas where the real charge coming from churches that have attempted to finally start out, in the beginning with idealism, and then end up so repressive and suppressive you can't believe that that was the outcome of the so-called Jewish fellow that later was called the Prince of Peace, who was never a Gentile or a Christian, but an observant Jew, but who had some free zone ideas about Judaism. So, look at what the Catholic Church has done in 2,000 years. And it only took Scientology less than a century to go from, the Church of Scientology, not Scientology, to go from the promise of a free world of good, sane people to being a somewhat suppressive, repressive, and frightening group led by a dictator. Less than a century. And then there's a Protestant group called the Free Zone that is growing in power and authority and may someday, because I know there have been quarrels within it where people end up hating one another instead of seeing one another as the new promise. But that's part of what's
part of the old game.
Part of the thing going on. But the Free Zone will reign triumphant. You can count on it. It's written in history and will repeat itself. But great ideas, which are not only to be found in Dianetics and Scientology, will live forever and reemerge and energize no matter what names are given to them. And that's something I feel more certain about than almost anything. If there is such a thing as immortality, it's ideas. Bad ones, good ones, great ones. So the Tao will keep emerging. As Ron gave so much credit to the Tao and Zen Buddhism, there will emerge as Scientology and Dianetics. They will disappear perhaps, but emerge again. Not to worry. It's all going to be okay. Read Kurt Vonnegut, you'll see.
Thank you, Phil.
Большое спасибо, which means big thanks, Tatiana.
Thank you very much. Thank you a lot.
I hope this has been satisfactory.
Very much.
And thank you for doing a great interview and running my favorite secondary engram, which I haul up every so often when somebody wants my history. And I'm pleased that I can still feel what I once felt. Because when you get to be my age, a lot of people are like, fuck feeling. I still feel a lot.
Okay.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all.